Hi again, everyone. On Wednesday, I did a guest video on the Coach Daniel channel breaking down the Celtics' defensive game plan during the first two games of this Raptors series. In today's video, I'll be breaking down the changes that were made in Game 3. I definitely recommend to first check out that video at Daniel's channel if you haven't already, but to very quickly recap, the Celtics have been choosing to sag off of Ibaka and Gasol, instead giving extra help on cuts and drives, and using a drop ball screen coverage where they dare the Raptors to shoot the pop three. In games 1 and 2, Ibaka shot the ball well, but Brad Stevens chose to stick with the game plan anyways and focus on preventing the rest of the Raptors from getting easy baskets. I'll get into game number 3 now, but please remember to like and subscribe, and you can leave a comment if there's another playoff series you'd like me to cover in the future. Brad Stevens didn't change the defensive game plan much for Game 3, which, considering the Celtics won the first two games, that makes sense. Boston continued to sag off the Raptors' 5-men and use drop coverage. Ibaka had his worst game of the series, going 1 for 6 from the floor in only 22 minutes of playing time. The biggest difference for the Celtics was just how aggressive they were in icing the Raptors' ball screens. Look how Kemba is parallel to the sideline here. He's not letting Lowry use the screen or get middle. The Celtics have been doing a version of this ice defense for most of the series, but it seemed like a much bigger point of emphasis in game number 3, and it caused Nick Nurse to do a few different things to counter it. The first adjustment was to just not set the screen in the first place. Because the Celtics were so determined to not let the ball get to the middle, Gasol would act like he's going to screen, but then abandon it to just roll or pop early. The strategy works because defenders are often taught to get into their coverage early. Here it's Tice's job to yell out ice as soon as he thinks Gasol is going to screen. That way he's getting into his drop while also communicating to the guard where to force the ball. If the coverage is called out too late, there's not enough time for both defenders to get on the same page. But there's a trade-off at play here. The Celtics were calling it out so early, the Raptors were at times able to take advantage of it by just not screening. Adjustment number 2 from Nick Nurse and the Raptors was to change the angles of their screens. Watch how Gasol starts out on one side, but then twists his body towards the sideline. It's another case of the Raptors basically conceding even trying to get into the middle. But by changing the angle, it makes it harder for the defender icing to get back in front of the ball handler on that sideline. Lowry and Van Vliet both hit pull-up threes off this action, which helps open up the court even further now for the roll to the hoop. Some screens are more difficult to ice than others. Here Lowry comes off a handoff, which makes it much harder for Wanamaker to fight over the screen fast enough to keep the ball out of the middle. On this play, it looks like the Raptors are getting into a screen, but after the ball gets reversed in the backdoor cut, now Kemba has to sprint to try and ice, resulting in a foul. The Celtics did also have some really good defensive possessions. Here Smart jumps out to switch the handoff and keeps the ball out of the middle. Kemba and Jason Tatum also had good examples of hustling to beat their man to the spot and preventing the Raptors from getting into the middle. One more thing worth mentioning about the Celtics' ball screen coverage was Enes Kanter's brief 4 minutes of playing time during the third quarter. It was the first time Kanter has played in the entire series, and we almost immediately saw why that is. The Raptors put him in ball screens nearly every time down. They scored 3 times when the Celtics were trying to ice, which then actually caused Stevens to change the coverage for the only time during the entire game. The next 3 screens with Kanter in the game, the Celtics chose to let the ball middle, with the Raptors scoring on 2 of them. It will be interesting to see if the Celtics decide to try Kanter again at some point in this series. The Celtics do a very good job of taking away both off-ball motion and one-on-one mismatches by switching. If Kemba winds up on a big, they'll fight hard to triple switch him back onto a guard. It's given the Raptors a lot of issues, but can also lead to some breakdowns if the switches get sloppy. Van Vliet knocked down 2 open threes from that miscommunication. I think this play illustrates something important to watch for in the rest of the series. This is one of Nurse's favorite plays. They'll set a ball screen while a baseline exit screen is also occurring. The Celtics have it scouted, so Grant Williams alertly switches out on the exit, but Kemba is late recognizing the switch. Even with Williams sagging off of Ibaka, the slip is open for a split second, but Siakam just can't deliver the ball on time and on target. Credit Marcus Smart for great ball pressure, but the Raptors need to capitalize on any Celtics miscommunication to win the series. Thank you very much for watching. If you want more information on why the Celtics are using ice coverage and ways other teams attack it, I made a video of that on this channel last year. Also, if you're interested in learning how I do the play animations with the different moving words and text you see in my videos, we have a tutorial video that walks you through that process available for Hoop Vision Plus subscribers. We also have one on how to watch film like a coach. A subscription is either $10 a month or $100 for the year. Links to all of that are in the description.